It's Rockipedia with David Miller, brought to you by Sunday Guitars. We thank our friends at Sunday Guitars for making this possible. And possible is what they make it. Hi. How have you been in this week since we've seen each other? This is episode number 2. I want to thank you so much if you did watch episode number 1. Last time I looked, had over 125 people or so, something like that. I know it was over 100. I haven't looked in the last day or so, but it was a very good turnout for my first episode, I think. I liked it, and I want to appreciate you for being there. I hope you're going to enjoy this one. I've got more stuff for you, but first, let's thank our friends properly at Sunday Guitars for providing this opportunity.
Located in the bustling heart of Bend, Oregon, we are your ultimate destination for everything music. Listen to guitars strumming, drums thumping, and bass rocking. We have it all. Looking for a band instrument? We've got you covered with our rental program. Have a broken instrument? Our repair services will get it on track. Our welcoming, experienced staff will cater to all your professional music necessities. Sunday Guitars, where every day is a jam session. Visit us on Greenwood Avenue in Bend, Oregon, or at sundayguitars.com.
Sunday Guitars, right here in Bend, Oregon. You can get them online, and they do have a really cool online store where you can buy stuff, including instruments and all kinds of things. So, what else do we know? Well, we know it's another episode, so what's Dave up to? Well, I've got another edition of Who the Hell is David? Because you got to know why I might know enough to have a podcast like this, or to at least think I know enough that you might want to listen. So I will be giving you another edition of that. If you remember last episode, our hero Dave had just left Lakeview and was headed to Portland to try to be a rock star. And we'll find out how that worked out. We're also going to have a new feature called Flashback Artist, where we're going to look back at an artist that I either really liked back in the day, or I rediscovered them and went, wow. Or I went, how did I never hear about these guys? So we'll do one of those today. We have another edition of Look What I Found, which is new music, a new band that I've found, at least new to me. You may know them, you may not. Hopefully I introduce you every once in a while to somebody you didn't know, and that will come up today. I have a new one of those, and you're going to dig them. They're fun. They're a lot of fun. Just the hair alone. Just the hair alone, I tell you. Okay, and then we have In Case You Missed It, our rock and roll news segment. We did that in episode 1. I've got a new edition of that with some great stuff. We're going to talk about a member of Korn. We're going to talk about the band Sublime. We're going to talk about somebody from Kiss because, you know, Kiss just kind of ended their thing. I kind of have the 411 on what at least one of the first things one of the members is going to do. So I'll bring that up. And a new segment about concerts. And we're going to try to cover concerts. I'm going to try to tell you about all the concerts all over the globe. All of them. No, that's not possible, kids. But what is possible is I will try to give you a good overview of what's going on in big festivals, especially stuff that a lot of the stuff will focus on the West Coast. Sorry, East Coasters, I love you, but if it's a huge show, I'm going to talk about it no matter where it's at, especially as we get closer to summer and festivals are going on and stuff like that. They're already announcing summer concerts all over the place. So we are going to get into a lot of that. But it may be a little region-centric, I should say. And so I hope you don't hate me. But if you do, use the comments. Use the comments. You can use our email, rockipediapodcast@gmail.com. Spread that around. You know, I want all the spam. No, I really would. But I would like to talk to you guys. So, and we'll have some more fun. Well, you know, we find our way, don't we? We do. So stick around. We got more of this stuff going on. And I'm just happy you're here. So these music beds that you hear underneath the intros and when I'm talking at you, I made those. In fact, this one was on a skate video for my buddy Zeke. Made that for him about a year ago. And then the Rockipedia theme, which you hear at the beginning of each episode, I created specifically for this show. That's something else I can do. All right, we're in episode 2. Episode 2 of Rockipedia, brought to you by Sunday Guitars. Thank you again, Sunday Guitars. We're going to do this segment now. This one's fun. We started this last week, and we'll catch you up in a second. But first, who is it? Who the hell is David Miller? Well, I am. It would be boring if I stopped right there, wouldn't it? This podcast sucks. Okay, so we left our hero, me, last week at the crossroads of adulthood. I was leaving my hometown of Lakeview and heading to Portland. Now, I feel like, this trek to Portland and what happens in Portland may actually have to be a 2-episode thing. We're going to see how long this takes me to tell you, because I feel like it's very necessary for me to talk about how I was able to get out of Lakeview, because that almost didn't happen. And you may figure that a rock and roll guy may have been a rebel when he was a teenager. I definitely was. I rebelled hard. I leaned into it, as they say today. You can ask my parents. You can't ask my mom anymore. Not that I wasn't the cause of that. No, I lost my mom about 13 years ago. But my dad would readily tell you what a pain in the ass I was. So I was reckless. I was on the loose. I was a musician in a tiny town where I didn't have any business being, honestly. There wasn't anything really there for me. I had some good friends. I had really good times there. I look back on it fondly now, but I left there like my ass was on fire. I wanted out of there so bad. But I was not very responsible about the way I was handling my life at that time. I was partying a lot. I had quit school my sophomore year of high school. Yes, beauty school dropout. And I had every intention. This is one of the things my father would tell you. He was going to get his GED. He was going to go out and rule the world. And that was my plan. I earnestly believed that was what was going to happen. And I did. I got my GED. That was a contention for me to be able to leave school. My father said, you must have that. So I did that. But then I immediately fell into that trap of, hey, I have all this free time and I have all these older friends because I'm playing in bands. I'm a musician. I'm just going to play music and party all the time. And I did that for quite a while. And so then one of the things that I did as a teenager, especially once I could drive, I was the guy in Lakeview that would, I would drive over to Klamath Falls. That was the closest place we had any music stores at all. I would drive over to Klamath Falls once a month, sometimes twice a month, depending on weather and budget. But I would buy new music. I thirsted for it. So if I knew a band had an album out, or if I just was bored, I'd drive over to Klamath Falls, buy a bunch of stuff, bring it home, make mixtapes for my friends, and give them all new music. And I did this for 3 or 4, maybe 5 friends, not a ton of them. But one of those friends was a lady named Kelly. And we went to school together. She was a year behind me. And we just knew each other in passing. We hadn't hung out much or anything. But she was part of that circle because I knew she was into Iron Maiden hardcore. And so that immediately made her cool. So we got to talking, and she liked the same music. So whenever I got new music, I would take her some music, and we would trade tapes and talk about music every once in a while. Well, I had seen her at a party right before this happened, and we had interacted, and it was a really cool interaction. I really enjoyed visiting with her. And she had a tape, a Wasp tape. Remember those guys, kids? Yeah, Wasp. Blackie Lawless and the boys. Well, she had borrowed my Inside the Electric Circus tape. There's some trivia for you. That's the third Wasp album, for those keeping track. If you're keeping score. So anyway, so she had this tape, and I went over to her house, and here's a little precursor here too. This is funny. I was driving a 1979 Chevy Chevette, my first car, and the starter was acting up. And the alternator wasn't holding the charge. And so it was a 4-speed, so you could push start it. And so that's how I had been getting around all over town for, I want to say weeks, but it probably was months, because I was a teenager drinking, partying, having a good time. I wasn't putting my budget into fix my car. Hey, could I get it going? I'm good enough. Good enough. So that's what I was doing. So I stopped by her house to get this tape that she had borrowed. And for some reason, I kissed her. And then I ran out the door. And my father-in-law tells a funny story of me. He remembers seeing me. He was standing at the kitchen sink washing dishes, and the window of the kitchen looked out onto the street where my car was parked. And he heard the door slam, and he saw me run across the yard and to my car and push start my car down the street and leave. And so Kelly and I have been together ever since. That was 1986. So we've been together a long time. But the most important part of that meeting was that this was probably in the fall of 86-ish. And she was graduating in 87, in June of 87. She was going to graduate and go to school in Portland. She already had her shit together. She knew exactly what she wanted to do, knew how to do it. They had the money saved for her to be able to do it. So she was on her way. And that was going to happen in September. So I was doing my thing. We were seeing each other, but I was still partying. I was still doing exactly what I had been doing. And her parents came to me at one point and said, hey, it was not long, maybe a month or so before she was going to go to Portland, and said, this is not a good place for you. You're not healthy when you're here. You're not doing the right things. We want to give you an opportunity to go to Portland with Kelly, and we'll help get you guys set up in an apartment, and you have to get a job, and she's going to go to school, and you guys figure out what you want to do. And it was amazing. It really was. It was a phenomenal thing for them to do, because I'm not sure now. I've raised 2 children myself, and I'm not sure I would have been able to do that for one of my kids. For my daughter, no, I don't know. If I could have said, hey, drunk guy that keeps coming over and hanging out every day and eating our dinner, you should go to Portland with our daughter. So I guess they saw something in me that they trusted. They really honestly saved my life. I have to admit that, because I think I would have just been the town drunk. I would have just stayed in Lakeview, been that guy. Hey, remember that when that guy could play guitar? That's who I would have been without the Cannons helping me out. So I appreciate Bill and Janine so much for that. And I've been with Kelly now. We've been together, raised 2 children, and I've had a fantastic life together, and it couldn't have worked out better. So that part of things was very cool. So we get to Portland, we have our own apartment. So I started looking for bands. And like I said, I was going to Portland to be a rock star. So I started auditioning. And here was the funny thing is, when I left Lakeview, I was a big fish in a little pond. So I could play guitar pretty well. I could do some solos. I was very much in the blues vein of things, easy stuff. I still live in that realm. I'm not a virtuoso by now at all. But I've gotten much better over the years. But when I went to Portland, I thought I was a shredder. I thought, man, I'm going to go up there and I'm going to join a band. They're going to be happy to have me. It's going to be amazing. And I got up there, and everybody on every street corner that had a guitar was already on their way to be Eddie Van Halen or Yngwie Malmsteen or any of those guys that were super important back then. Burgeoning Paul Gilberts all over Portland, Oregon. And I couldn't keep up with that. I went to a couple guitar auditions, had my ass handed to me, and went, okay, this is not what I should be doing. I'm not resting on my strengths. I'm just trying to force a square peg in a round hole here. So I went to the idea of, okay, my strength is singing. I had already gone to state and choir. I knew how to sing correctly. I still, to this day, I can sing a lot of stuff I've been able to sing my whole life. because back then I learned how to sing correctly. Thank you, Lori Crocker, my choir teacher. So it made sense for me to go and audition as a vocalist. And then I figured, if I've got a cool guitar riff and it's good, they're not going to say no. They'll play it. I'll still songwrite. So I went and started auditioning, and I had some rough auditions as a singer too, because a lot of people were looking for the next Bruce Dickinson from Iron Maiden or the next Jeff Tate from Queensryche. And so then I auditioned for a band called Silent Rain out in Beaverton, Beaverton, area, just outside of Portland. And I met a guy that I'm friends with to this day. I've been in several bands with him, and his name is Brian Copeland. And he and Craig Selby and Tristan Shebold and Alan Thompson had a band going already, and they were looking for a singer. And I came in, and they liked what I was doing, and so we got together, and we started writing songs, and I remember us destroying our ears in a storage unit for many, many moons. And then that kind of fell apart. Craig left, or we left Craig. I don't recall exactly how that went down, but it ended up being everybody but Craig moved on, and we formed a band called Kid Wicked. And that band went through a couple lineup changes, and I'm going to share something with you now that this is the last lineup of this band, and they'll tell you all about the dates and all that. You'll be able to tell by looking at us. But we were on a public access show called Talent on Parade Showcase. And I think for those in the know, in the Portland area, this was on, at some point, it was on in relation to Jim Spag's show. So, which you're going to be surprised when you see how this starts, because none of that goes together. But, it was public access back in the 80s. So let's check it out, shall we? This is Kid Wicked on Talent on Parade Showcase in Portland, Oregon. Myself on lead vocals, and the rest of the guys, you'll see. The production value is immense.
Welcome to another Tops Talent on Parade Showcase. Hi, I'm Ariana Hunter, and I'm your 1992 USA National Miss for the state of Oregon. Today we have a grown-up kind of talent for you today. It's called, her name is Kid Wicked.
Did you hear the sound man turn it down? He's like, holy go! Ah, good times.
Keep me in a corner, won't you sit by if I can love you? I won't feel bad loving you this time. You got nothing on me this time. Loving you ain't no crime. You got nothing on me this time. No proof, baby, in a crime of love.
Look, I was starting to shave my head back then.
got nothing on me this time.
So during this performance, I blew my voice out. I went in with a dry throat, dry mouth, and we did like 5-6 songs right in a row. And by the end, I was tortured. It was not a good thing. This wasn't bad. This first song was okay, but yeah, it got horrible by the end of this video, which is available on YouTube. I have no shame. I've got a bunch of different stuff from this era up on my personal channel. Watch it. Now we're gonna get sexy.
You whisper, and I see you move. And when you touch me, well, I feel so good. I can't control my feelings, and I'm so
Did you hear that scream? Uh-huh.
Don't you know I really
Oh, cracks me up now. But we were all right. We were having fun, right? So Brian Copeland is on the far left there in the dark shirt, playing the dark guitar. On bass, we had Dana Benjamin there on the white bass. Me in the middle. Alan Thompson on drums. And that's Tim Lyons on guitar. I've completely lost track of Tim, but I'm in touch with all these other guys. We're all still friends to some degree, I guess. It's just cool. I love that. Brian and I talk a lot, and we've hung out. We've actually made music and done shows together. So there's a little taste of old Dave on the Kid Wicked thing. There was other stuff too that was going on back then that I've got. Mr. Rattlebones was a band that I formed with Brian after Kid Wicked. Yeah, Brian and I have stayed in touch with each other, and we've made music together a couple times, done some shows together. It's good stuff. The people you meet when you're doing music, pretty incredible. And this is Rockipedia with David Miller. We're talking about who the hell am I? And so I'm in Portland. I'm in bands, and people are going to say that around 1990. Something happened in Seattle that killed the era of rock that I was in. I don't necessarily agree with that presumption, I guess is what it would be. I don't think that's correct. I think that the hair metal of the 1980s had, it was like the snake eating itself, very much like disco and punk. It had run its course. It had gotten bloated and gross and weird and unimaginative, and the record labels were just trying to churn out copycats. There was no reason that genre should have continued anywhere past where it did. Now, coincidentally, there was a really cool movement happening, grunge, in the Seattle area. And being in Portland, I got to be front row for that, which was really cool because I saw Alice in Chains at small clubs and doing opening sets for regional bands, and saw Soundgarden in a 250, 300 seat theater before they really broke out. It was very, very cool to be in that era and be a part of it. And I played music all the way through. I was in a band that was kind of Red Hot Chili Peppers for a while. Mostly I stuck to my lane. We did end up getting closer to the Skid Row thing, but it was by that time it wasn't in vogue. And some of those bands were able to continue, and thankfully they did. And no genre of music deserves to just die, and none of them have. Punk stuck around. There's still disco stuff. It's all morphed and evolved like music's supposed to. And the hard rock and the great thing about the 80s era is that the bands that should have continued have had a resurgence. So those guys that were able to stick around and keep those lineups, or at least keep some form of that lineup, they're now making money. They're doing these cruises, they're doing these festivals, they're getting to play small clubs again if they're up to it and want to do it. The market is out there for them, and I go see a lot of them. It's fun. Nothing wrong with it at all, and I'm going to talk about some of those in our concert thing here a little bit later in the episode. But for me, at that point, music was changing, and I wasn't sure where I was going to fit with it. So I went into a mode where for at least a year, maybe a year and a half, I did nothing but solo acoustic shows on a 12-string. I wanted to get out of the box. I wanted to try something different. And then I ended up getting with a bunch of guys that were in the butt rock bands and the hard rock bands with me. And we formed a cover band and went on the road and played Oregon, Washington, and Idaho for about 8 months. Had an agent, did the whole thing. It was fun. And there's some great stories from that will come up during this podcast, I'm certain. So I'm not going to make this longer by doing that. We're just getting a synopsis of who I am. So did that for a while. That happened in probably 94, 95. I did the cover thing. And when that kind of fell apart, I didn't want to stay on the road and just do it that way. That wasn't appealing to me anymore after I'd done it for a while. After I'd had the adventures, I was over it. And everybody kind of was. All of us had kind of moved on from it, I think, by the time it died. Some of us would have continued. I know that for sure. But it wasn't meant to be. So at that point, I was like, okay, now what am I going to do? And so I started playing some fun stuff just around. My old bass player from a band before lived across the sidewalk from me. He helped me get an apartment. So my wife and I lived across from him and his wife. And so him and I would get together and we'd play. He would bring his bass over and we'd jam. And we formed a couple things and messed around with the idea of putting a band together. And then when I started getting involved in radio. And this was something that my wife and I had talked about, moving our relationship. We lived together for about a decade before we ever talked marriage or anything. We were just together. That was good enough for us. It didn't matter. Not necessarily good enough for all of our family, but it was good enough for us. It was what we were supposed to do. And so, but we were at this point, this would have been mid-90s, late 90s. We were starting to feel like maybe that next step was going to happen. We were going to get married. We were going to have a kid, do those things. And so I had to start thinking differently about the way I was going to go about adulthood. I had to adult more. That's what I had to do. And so I started looking for things I might have an interest in outside of music, playing music at least anyway. And so I did several jobs. I painted houses. I DJ'd in clubs, different things, but none of it was sticking with me. And then I remembered, I used to think radio would be kind of cool. And on my career day in Lakeview High School, freshman year, they gave us a career day. And we got to pick where we wanted to go. Well, Lakeview didn't have a lot going on. You could go to the grocery store, you can go to the offices with your parents or the dentist office or something like that and see how they do that. Maybe go to the post office. You can go to the mill. There was like a bunch of mills, stuff like that, hardware store, gas station. But they had one of the things on the list was the radio station. And I thought, well, that seems like it'll be easy because I was me in high school. But also I thought radio was cool, music. Why not? I'll do that. So I went out and spent the day at the AM radio station with a gentleman named Ernie Reidelback. And he was a very, very cool dude. Totally had no idea what to do with this rock and roll kid. Because at that point I had fairly long hair and a shitty attitude. And, I was walking, talking stereotype of rock and roll. But I was interested in what he had to offer. So I was kind. I've never been a complete asshole. I was just rebellious and thought I knew everything. And so we spent the day showing me, he taught me how to cut audio tape, how to splice it, which is a pretty cool skill to get when you're a freshman in high school. And he showed me how to use the reel tape machines, how to use cart machines, these different things. If you're in radio, you'll know some of this stuff. If you're not, you'll go, what? Cart machine's like an 8-track tape player, looks just like one. And gave me an idea of what radio was, at least in a small town. But the end of the day, he let me read the weather on the air. And that was it. I was done. I was like, oh, that'd be fun. I'd love to do that. And I used to make up radio shows in my bedroom. I'd get a couple tape players and a record player, and I'd make up radio shows. So it was in there all those years, but I had never thought about it again. I never thought of it as a career until that point. And so I sent an email out all over Portland. Hey, how do I get into radio? I want to get into radio. Where do I figure this out? And everybody that did respond, and this was like early email. We're talking America Online. It was my email server at the time. So there wasn't a lot of correspondence you could do, but I was really surprised because 2 or 3 of the gentlemen that were program directors at that time in the Portland market responded. And they all said the same thing. They said, go to Mount Hood Community College, get in the broadcast program, try to get an internship. If you can get an internship, you can come and do what we're doing. And that seemed cool. I'm like, all right, I can do that. So I went and applied and got into school and started the broadcasting program. And you had to do a term without the opportunity for an internship. So I did that. And as soon as I got to the second term, I immediately started going for internships. And I got one at the coolest place to go in Portland at the time. It was Intercom Broadcasting, and they had KGON, KNRK, they had the sports channel. It was very cool. And I ended up interning for KGON and had a blast. I got to do concert parties at the Moda Center, all kinds of contesting and phone call answering and different things like that, and promotional stuff. And then I ended up getting a job with them as a board op overnight on the sports station, which was an interesting job. And it led to me being able to break into radio on a larger level sooner. So on the overnight on the sports station, my job would be to every 20 minutes walk into a studio, push a fader up, let a commercial break of about 3 to 4 minutes run, and then pull the fader down and wait 20 minutes for the next commercial break. That was what I did all night. It was not an interesting job, but it left me a lot of free time, and I used that free time in the production studios to make up air check tapes, which is what we DJs would have that would show you what we would sound like on the air, going in and out of songs, talking about sponsors, that kind of thing. So I just made up all these tapes, and for weeks, every time a program director would come into the office on Monday, there'd be a tape of me on the desk. And most of them just went in the garbage. I'm certain of it, because that's what happened back then. That was normal. But I was taking a shot. And at some point, Bob, who was the program director at KGON, liked my tape enough that he told Mark Hamilton at KNRK that he should try me. He should try me. And so Mark talked to me and he said, would you want to do like an early Sunday show? And he was talking like 5 a.m. Sunday morning. And I said, yes, not knowing anything about it. I have no idea what I'm getting into. Well, it was an hour of me getting to introduce songs. So I had 4 opportunities to introduce a song and talk on the air. And then I was just being a board op again for these syndicated shows that they ran every Sunday morning. But it was giving me a chance to get on the air. It was giving me those 4 breaks every week to do something. And I recorded all of it. And within a few months, I had enough stuff that I started sending it out to other places. And where I'm at now, Bend was on my list of possible places because Bob Harlow, the program director at KGON in Portland, pulled me aside one day and he said, I know you want to do this for a living and you have the ability, you could do this, but you're not going to get to do it here. It'll take you too long to get to an air shift for it to be worth your while. You should go to a smaller market and try being on the air somewhere else. And I said, well, that you know more than me. And so I asked him what kind of markets he suggested, and he thought of places like Bend, Reno, Boise, things like that. And so I started sending this minor amount of tape I had from Sunday mornings, those 4 breaks. I started sending that around to different places and got a bite here in Bend. And that brought me to Bend. And this is going to be a long stretch of stories here. So I'm going to pause here for this week on the Who the Hell is David Miller. So I've just gotten to Bend and I'm just about to start my radio career here. And this is where I did 90% of my radio time, was right here in Bend, Oregon. And I loved it. I had so much fun. You're going to hear about some of it. And we'll do that next week on Rockipedia. So stick around. I've got more fun stuff coming up, but I'm going to transition right now to something else. All right? We'll see you in a few.
Rock every day with Sunday Guitars. Located in the bustling heart of Bend, Oregon, we are your ultimate destination for everything music. Listen to guitars strumming, drums thumping, and bass rocking. We have it all. Looking for a band instrument? We've got you covered with our rental program. Have a broken instrument? Our repair services will get it on track. Our welcoming, experienced staff will cater to all your professional music necessities. Sunday Guitars, where every day is a jam session. Visit us on Greenwood Avenue in Bend, Oregon, or at sundayguitars.com.
Rockipedia with David Miller. Whee! So we're moving on to another segment. I was actually realizing I should call this the Gibson episode. Got my Gibson sweatshirt on, 2 Gibson guitars behind me. Are you paying attention, Gibson? I'm promoting the hell out of you here. Oh, yes. So, lots of fun still to be had on this episode. It's episode 2. You're in early on the game. I want to thank everybody that subscribed so far. And we have a new segment for you right now that we're going to do called... That's Rockipedia with David Miller's Flashback Artist. Oh, yeah! Gotta love it. And today you can see we are talking about a band called Saigon Kick. You remember those guys? I do. I remember them vividly. So Saigon Kick were like a early 90s band. I want to say 92. I'm most of this stuff, I'm not going online and looking all of this up. This is one of the reasons I feel like I can have a Rockipedia podcast. About 90% of what I'm going to spew at you is in my melon from years and years of soaking up rock and roll, man. Dedicated my life to rock and roll, but I'm also a pop culture fanatic, and I love trivia, and I love knowing as much about the things I enjoy as I possibly can, and music being the thing I enjoy, probably second only to other things that we don't talk about on the podcast. It's directed towards families and kids. It's not at all directed towards families and kids. But you get my meaning, don't you? Yeah, you dirty birds. Okay, so I just delved into music, and any band that I liked, I wanted to know as much as I could about them. And so that kind of brought me to radio, which radio enhanced that. Being a music fan and being a pop culture fan, I have a lot of stuff in here that's pretty much useless outside of this type of thing. Having this podcast is actually the only reason I'm ever going to use the knowledge I have beyond, party entertaining and things like that. So Saigon Kick, about 91, 92, they came out with a pretty solid debut album. They were a 4-piece at that point, and they looked just like this. That's the guys right there. Check them out. Look how pretty we were back in the day. All that hair. Jesus. Okay, so this is Matt Kramer. This is Jason Bueller. This is... I can't remember his name off the top of my head. See, that's what happens in this podcast. See, this is what happens when you don't study, children. When you think you just have it all in your head. Phil Verone is that drummer's name. That guy, Phil Verone, drummer. And then there's also the other dude that got really screwed early on. Okay, so we're going to talk about what's going on with these guys. But first, let's refresh your memory a bit. This is Saigon Kick and their biggest hit, and it's a ballad, and it's not the best song of theirs. I'm going to play some clips of some other songs that are even better as we go through this little story. But you know this one. If I had a lighter, I'd be doing this.
Lonely sidewalks, silent night.
were really good. Really great band. And everybody can sing the chorus to this song. Isn't that beautiful? So we all remember that, right? Yep, we remember that. So that's Saigon Kick there with Love Is On The Way. Now, what is going on with Saigon Kick, you may ask? Well, a lot, actually. They're doing all kinds of stuff to each other. They've had a very dramatic soap opera playing out online over the last several weeks, probably now. I think it's been longer than that. But it really heated up recently. So here's what's happened with Saigon Kick. So they released their first album, then they released their big album, The Lizard, which is what Love Is On The Way was from. And then they kind of had a mix-up in the band members. They didn't get along so well, apparently, especially the guitarist Jason Bieler is his name, not Bueller. I was being funny with the reference to Ferris Bueller. But Jason Bueller, see, I did it again. Jason Bueller, he and Matt Kramer, the singer, did not get along very well, apparently. They did not have a good working relationship. So after the tour and promotion for the album Lizard, the band kicked Matt Kramer out. He left. I shouldn't say they kicked him out. He left. The other guys stayed. And the guitar player, Jason, started taking over lead vocals. They released an album called Water. And Jason Bieler was the main vocalist on that. It sounded amazingly like Matt Kramer was still in the band. So that was a little interesting. That instead of having his own voice, he kind of stuck with the sound they had. But maybe that's his own voice. We don't know, do we, kids? No, we only know what's put in front of us. And what was put in front of us was an album called Water. It was an okay album. Had a really cool cover of Space Oddity by David Bowie on it. Had some good songs. Was not anywhere near the album that the two prior albums with Matt Kramer were. That's this musician's personal opinion, but it's true. So since then, they may have released another album after Water as Saigon Kick with Jason on vocals. I'm not positive about that. I know that Jason went off and did his own projects. Phil Verone went off and did a Playgirl edition and did a documentary about being a rock star that did a Playgirl thing or something. I don't know. He's done some stuff. And he's played with other people. Phil Verone was in Skid Row for a period of time, I believe. The original bass player, I think his name is Rob Diatta, maybe. I could be wrong on that name. But you know what you have? You have Google. You can look at Google and find out for yourself. But he is not involved in anything that's going on currently, and I don't think he'll be involved in this Saigon Kick tour that's coming up. But Phil Verone and Jason Bieler have teamed up to do a 30th anniversary or 25th anniversary tour for the album Water, which I will remind you was not as good as the first two albums. And they were not able to team up with Matt Kramer to any degree to celebrate the really good albums. So they're going to go out on the road and celebrate this album that wasn't as great. And Matt Kramer took issue with this to some degree, I guess. He feels like that they are cheating the fans because they're inferring that this is Saigon Kick, when in Matt Kramer's eyes, it's not Saigon Kick, it's the other version of Saigon Kick, and I don't really understand all that. But apparently he feels like he got screwed out of a bunch of royalties. He feels like he got taken advantage of with being removed from the band right after they had their biggest hit, which he feels responsible for. He feels like he put a lot into that song song was very special, special to him, and that that is really where their success came from. And he's not wrong, people. He's not wrong. They had released other songs and videos that did not hit as big. That song hit huge, and he's a huge part of that song, so he can take some credit for the success of the band. And I think he would like to see it be something to where he was able to be involved and benefit from the time and effort he put into those first 2 albums. And that did not happen. So he's upset about that, I am certain. And then also, Jason Bieler, I feel like he has some, I don't want to trash on the guy because I don't know the guy. I see what I'm seeing in the press and what he's done on his online status, his social media. And he's trolled Matt pretty heavily on it and minimized through humor the severity of what Matt Kramer may be going through. I think Matt Kramer has had a rough time since Saigon Kick crashed and he was removed from the band in whatever fashion that happened. He has not shown up in any other bands. He has not done much musically. He seems like maybe that really cut his knees out from under him when it happened back in 93 or 94 or whenever that was. And it feels like maybe he never recovered from that. And so he's very bitter. And you can, and I encourage you, go to, on Facebook, go to the Saigon Kick or Jason Bieler's pages and go to Matt Kramer's and follow him. It's interesting. There's a whole stream of stuff to read there that's pretty interesting, but they're airing their grievances in public, and we all know that that's never, ever a really good idea because, well, you know, you can embarrass yourself and you cannot necessarily get rid of that stuff later when you decide, oh, I should not have said that. Maybe I should have done, you know, this way, or I should have been nicer, or it's hard to do. It's hard to deal with. And I'm sure that these guys are going through a lot of drama and a lot of pain in doing this. And it always bums me out when bands I like do this. And there's so many of them. You know, the most recent, these guys, of course, but also the Motley Crue thing we talked about last episode. And a little tidbit on the Motley Crue thing. This is a sidetrack, but the Motley Crue lawsuits with Mick Mars. Mick Mars has won the first outing in that. He whatever their first thing was, he won, and they did not. And it was about them not providing information in a timely fashion as they should have. So that's just a little update there. But with Saigon Kick, this has become a thing that they're airing in public, and it's embarrassing. And it doesn't make me want to go see any of them live. I don't know if you're like that with me, or like me with that, I should say. That, you know, when you see people acting this immature and this ridiculous, you really have trouble supporting either side. We've gone through it with so many bands too. LA Guns. For ages, there was 2 LA Guns running around. The only reason that stopped is Stephen Riley, the original drummer of LA Guns, passed away. And so he couldn't do his LA Guns thing anymore. But the guys that were in the... Here's how weird this thing gets. Okay, here's a couple of these examples. The LA Guns thing. So Stephen Riley was in LA Guns after he left Wasp. Him and Tracy Guns and Phil Lewis, they formed this LA Guns band together. Great band. They released some fantastic albums in the mid to late 80s, and I really enjoyed them. They were good. Stephen Riley recovered well after being fired from Wasp and hit with the LA Guns. So time goes on, the whole grunge thing happens, the 80s metal thing kind of falls apart, and LA Guns goes dormant, and Tracy Guns goes off and does a couple other things. Phil Lewis and Tracy Guns have some battles. They're not even getting along, and so we don't have LA Guns for like 5-6 years. And then they come back. And they come back first with what looked like the original lineup, maybe a couple of extra players. But then for some reason, Stephen Riley and Tracy Guns and Phil Lewis could not get along any longer. And Phil Lewis left, but he felt like since he's a founding member, he shouldn't lose everything LA Guns was. So he starts his own LA Guns. It's ridiculous. Great White did the similar thing. Dumb. And we'll get into talking about some of these bands that are continuing after there are no original members any longer involved, and often longer alive. Leonard Skinner being a huge one that's choosing to continue, and there are no surviving original members. They're all dead. So we'll get into that in another episode, but those types of things really, they chip away at your fan base. They make those of us that are real music fans that really want to hang out and enjoy a band. And one of the things that we enjoy about bands is the camaraderie of a band. Seeing a band do something together as a unit, there's nothing like it. It's almost like I would imagine people who love sports get a charge out of watching their sports team work together so well that they just conquer, they just dominate. And we get the same vibe from watching a group of musicians do that. And when you get close to them, when they're like, my favorite band of all time, the band that got me going, Kiss, has had so much stupid drama and ridiculous humanity. And it is. We got to remember, these are people. They have egos, they have feelings. They're going to get, they're going to have their problems. But Jesus, does it have to be ridiculous like this? I mean, really, go check out the Saigon Kick stuff. It's hilarious and sad all at the same time, which I always find means entertaining. Not horrible. All right. So I wanted to play something good for you from Saigon Kick, something you'll enjoy. This is the title track from the album that I think is their best album. It's the second album. It does have the singer Matt Kramer on it. And let's just enjoy it. He said confidently as nothing happened.
Howdy, stranger.
See, heavy. And these guys, their vocals were a huge thing. Their vocals. Check them out. See, really cool stuff. Really cool stuff. I love these guys' music. I wish they would not do the embarrassing stuff they're doing in public. And it won't make me or probably very many other people buy tickets to go see them live. I honestly think that does have an effect. Could be wrong. I've been wrong before. So that's this edition of Flashback Artist. Saigon Kick. That's who we focused on today. And this is brought to you by Stone's Guitar Repair. Ian Stone is the proprietor, and they're right here in Bend, Oregon. If you're a local musician and you need something done to your guitar, your bass, your fiddle, they can set you up over at Stone Guitar Repair.
Stone's Guitar Repair. Dive into the symphony of sound with over 60 years of expertise in fretted instrument repair. Trust your prized instrument to the best. Stone's Guitar Repair, located on Franklin in Bend, Oregon. Or visit us online at stonesguitarrepair.com.
So thanks again to Stone Guitar Repair and, of course, Sunday Guitars. Ian used to work at Sunday Guitars with me, and now Ian is out on his own, and we want to support him in any way we can. So get in touch with Ian Stone at Stone Guitar Repair, and you will be able to find him on Facebook, I believe, and you can probably find him online. Check it out, and like I said, I'll have links in the description of this video, so you can check that out. All right, we have more stuff coming up. We have music news on the way with In Case You Missed It, And we're also going to do a Look What I Found on a new band and give you some new music to check out. So I really enjoy you being here with me on Rockipedia with David Miller. Rockipedia Season 1, Episode 2 continues. I'm David Miller, your host. I almost said dashing host, but I'm too lazy to dash. Oh, I cracked myself up. So what is next, you might ask? Well, what is next is another segment. And this segment is brought to you by our friends over at Northside Bar and Grill. And we're bringing you something new. It's Look What I Found, the new music thing. And this week we're talking about the Southern River Band from Australia, Thornley, Australia to be exact. Made up of guitarist, vocalist Callum Kramer, bassist Anton Dindar, guitarist Jason Caligula, I doubt if he's Caligula, and Carlo Romero, drums. You're going to find that I mispronounce last names all the time, and you're just going to have to put up with it. That's all I can tell you. So Southern River Band out of Thornley, Australia. I discovered these guys doing a wormhole search, that's what I call it, when you look up one band and then you see the suggested videos for other bands, and you look at all those as well. And pretty soon you've spent 3 hours on YouTube watching bands. But that's how I find the content for this show. So I call it working. I'm at work here. Oh, okay. So Southern River Band, they've got a couple albums out, and they've just started to break through outside of Australia. It looks like they've been fairly popular in Australia for a while. I'm not going to get into a bunch of backstory because I didn't do that kind of research. I want you to experience these guys the way I did. You're not going to know a ton about them. I want you to pay attention to the lead guitar player, singer's hair, Cal, as they call him, and his fashion sense. And there's a breakdown in the middle of this first song that we're going to watch that is totally AC/DC, but in the best way possible. I don't think it's a ripoff. I think it's an homage, in my own opinion, that is the only one that matters right now. That's not true. I love your opinions, and I want you to tell me about them. Hit the comments, hit the email, rockpediapodcast@gmail.com, and tell me what you think of these guys. I think you're going to dig them. This is the Southern River Band, their first single, Stan Quaylen. I'm going to play most of this song and hope I get away with it, because I think you guys really need to take this all in, because that's really the only way to enjoy it. And here we. Oh, by the way, if you're susceptible to seizures, they're telling you right here it could happen. So, and I want you to watch for the pyro in this video. The pyro in this video is fantastic. Aren't they fun? Here comes the breakdown. I know you're dancing. Look how they... Ha ha! An ode to Angus. I don't care what he says. That's totally Angus. So you can see why I like these guys. They're fun, right? I know. That's good stuff. So you can always find out more about them by going to the description in the video. I will have links to this video. I'll have links to their website. They are the Southern River Band.
The Northside Bar and Grill, an enduring local tradition for over 15 years, nestled in the heart of Northeast Bend, Oregon. More than a bar, we're a full-service experience uniting food, drinks, and entertainment. Our diverse food menu caters to all palates, while our bartenders pour the best drinks in town. Wednesdays, we shine a spotlight on local talent with Mellow Wednesday. We liven up the weekends with music and dancing on Thursday and Saturday. For sports enthusiasts, we offer multiple screens for football and more. Try your luck with Oregon Lottery, the Northside Bar and Grill located on Boyd Acres in Bend, or on our website, northsidebarfun.com.
Woohoo! And it's time for Rockipedia with David Miller's new news segment. Rockipedia with David Miller, in case you missed it. My take on the latest music news that's going on out in the world. And today we're going to feature a little something on Mr. Brian Head Welch of Korn. Yeah. So he has come up with a new program. Actually, he's teaming up with Atlantic Behavioral Health, and they are a treatment center for addiction, depression, mental issues, and things like that. And I think it's pretty cool of him. You may know that he went through quite a bit of stuff back in the day. He left the band for a while, had to deal with some substance issues and some depression. And so he's put some money into partnering with Atlantic Behavioral Health. He says that partnering with Atlantic is so personal to me, and not just another business to invest in, which is cool. I think that's awesome that he's doing that stuff. I know what it feels like to live at the bottom of a dark pit, but I also know if you put in the work, the light will come back on, And Atlantic is going to help so many people find the light switch. That's Mr. Brian talking there. They're serving Massachusetts and New Hampshire. And as a recently ex-drinker, I'm 18 months sober right now. 16 months sober, sorry. 16 months sober right now. So it is important to, take care of yourself. It's something we all have to do. So congratulations to Mr. Head Welch on his new endeavor there. It's always good to have those things going on. And our next little story here on, in case you missed it, is about the son of Sublime singer Bradley Noel. His son Jacob has joined the band. This is kind of cool. I think it's cool when kids kind of fill in for dad when dad can't be there. And we know that Bradley Noel is no longer with us. So the original Sublime members, Bud Gaw on drums and Eric Wilson on bass, are hanging out with Jacob as their frontman. The trio are scheduled to perform at Coachella and will announce additional select festival performances in 2024. Now, in the original Sublime, Brad was the guitar player-singer. So I don't know if that means Jacob is going to be the guitar player-singer and they're going to be a trio, or if they'll add somebody. But they apparently did a show recently in December of 2023. And it went well. They did Wrong Way, Santeria, which we're hearing now, and What I Got. So it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. Good luck to you, Jacob. I know that people love Sublime, and it'll be fun to have them back doing what they do, if you know what I mean. So everybody knows that Kiss kind of ended their thing, at least in the original lineup situation. But Mr. Gene Simmons is not letting any grass grow under his feet. He is going to go on the road, with his solo band. Now this looks pretty cool because he's had the solo band thing going for a while, and he did several shows in 2022, I believe, with his solo band, where they do a bunch of Kiss stuff, but they also do his solo stuff. They do covers. It sounds like a party. And I kind of assumed that Gene would be doing this on his return after the band kind of quit doing what they were doing. So now he has a show set up in Brazil. He's going to be a part of the Summer Breeze Festival. And then we'll imagine there'll be other dates coming after that. One of the rumors has been that Mr. Simmons is going to have Bruce Kulick, who used to be in Kiss, and Eric Singer, who's been the Catman in Kiss for about the last 20 years. They may be part of his solo band. I wouldn't mind that, would you? Who knows? Who knows what'll happen? You can't tell with these crazy kids. But you know me, I'm a huge Kiss fan, so I'll probably sign up for any of it. I know. All right, that's in case you missed it. With David Miller on Rockipedia. Brought to you by the Home Loan Ninja, Aaron Myra. Thanks for the support.
Meet Aaron Myra, CEO of Optimal Rate Home Loans, an Oregon native who transitioned from building high-end custom homes to facilitating dreams of home ownership. In 2005, as the housing market crumbled, Aaron dove headfirst into the world of home financing. Navigating the downturn, he honed his expertise from street-level processes to the sway of the stock and bond markets. His tenacity and knowledge earned him the moniker, the Home Loan Ninja. At Optimal Rate Home Loans, the team understands that purchasing a home is a monumental decision. They've built a reputation on exceptional communication and service, ensuring every client's journey is handled with utmost care. Whether you're looking to purchase a new home or refinance an existing one, trust the expertise of the Home Loan Ninja and his team at Optimal Rate Home Loans. Your dream home is closer than you think.
Do, do, do. That's such an anthemic theme. Yeah, I know. I got to get some more background music going. I only have 2 right now. But I wrote them. They're mine. Both of them. All right. So anyway, we got something new going on for you, and this is going to be pretty cool, I think. So I'm giving you the 411 on concerts because January, we're starting to hear about all the 2024 concerts that are going to be coming to my area and other areas. I'm going to try to cover a bunch of concerts, bunch of festivals, whatever I can figure out that maybe my audience is interested in. It may be regional for a while. I do have some big festivals to tell you about today, but I'm going to focus on some shows also that are in the West Coast area. I'm in the middle of Oregon, Bend, Oregon. We have a amphitheater here called Hayden Homes Amphitheater. Now, if you talk to the locals about it, you're going to get all kinds of different opinions. I myself think it's pretty cool because we now have a Live Nation venue. It will hold, I want to say, 6,000? Something like that, maybe 8,000. But it's fair size, and it's kind of gotten on the circuit of things like the Gorge and Red Rocks, that kind of thing. But we're starting to draw really big artists, and here's kind of an example for you. One of the first sets of shows that have been announced so far for this year is these. We've got Third Eye Blind, Styx and Foreigner, and Bush, along with others. Third Eye Blind with Yellow Card is June 14th. And then the Foreigner, Styx, and John Waite is June 30th. And the Bush and Jerry Cantrell with Candlebox is July 26th. Those are all going to be really cool, especially that Bush with Jerry Cantrell and Candlebox. I saw Candlebox here at that same venue last year with Three Doors Down. And Three Doors Down sucked. Just to be honest with you, the singer was flat the entire night. It drove me crazy. I can't deal with that kind of thing at all. And that's my own personal thing. I talked to other people that thought it was one of the best shows they'd ever seen. Those people would be wrong. But anyway, and I was bummed because I liked Three Doors Down, or at least I liked them back in the day when they were doing their thing. It's hard to believe now that bands like Three Doors Down, I don't even want to say the name Limp Bizkit, but Korn, things like that, those bands are now kind of retro bands. They're like... Anyway, moving on. A couple more regional shows I want to tell you about. Portland shows, actually. We have Government Mule, February 11th and 12th. They're doing a double night at the Roseland Theater. These are all actually at Roseland Theater that I'm talking about today. Grace Potter, if you know Grace Potter and the Nocturnals, great band, released several albums. Grace Potter went on her own as a solo artist probably 5 years ago. I'm going to guess 5 years ago. She's bringing her show to the Roseland Theater on March 3rd. And then Static X with Seven Dust is May 2nd at the Roseland Theater. Static X, Seven Dust, I've seen both of those bands live. Woo! Big doings. They're fun. Good time if you can get there. So you can find out about these things by going to the description down here. I'm going to put all the details and links in there so you can find your way to all of these shows. Some of the festivals I was mentioning to you, we've got a couple of them here. Let's see, which one did I want to do first? This one. All right, this is Sick New World is what this is called. Sick New World. And you can see the lineup: Slipknot, System of a Down, Alice in Chains, Perfect Circle. Are you kidding me? Sleep Tokens in there. All kinds of them. That is going on April 27th, and that is, I believe, in the wonderful city of Las Vegas, or also known as Lost Wages. Then we have Rockville. Rockville's another great looking one. It's got Judas Priest. It's got, who else? A little hard to see in here. Motley Crue, I don't care about them. Foo Fighters, yeah, that's cool. Slipknot's in this one too. Slipknot's going to get around this summer. That's going to be cool. They haven't done a bunch of stuff lately. But there's all kinds of great stuff. These are all hard rock and metal festivals. That is Rockville. That is May 9th and 12th. And where was that one at? I want to say it's in like Columbus, Ohio. I think it's in Columbus, Ohio. And then we have this one that's a pretty famous one. It's been around for several years now, Sonic Temple. And I see the Misfits on here. I see Pantera, Slipknot again. Like I said, they're getting around a lot this year. Looks like it's going to be a really, really cool festival. This one's always big. A buddy of mine always goes to those. Sonic Temple is May 16th through the 19th. And I don't recall where that's at. That may be down in California somewhere, but you'll find out all the details because I'll put them, like I said, I'll put them in the description down here. You can find out more about that stuff. So that's kind of my concert 411 for you. I'll do that every couple episodes when there's new stuff to talk about and it's worthwhile. Hey, I might even jump on and do a short now and then, telling you a little bit more about this stuff. You know, if I get a news update. Oh, sorry. I don't know what that was about, but all right. So that's going to do it for this episode. I appreciate so much that you guys checked it out. I want to thank all my sponsors, Sunday Guitars, for being the main sponsor here. I also want to thank Stone's Guitar Repair. Ian Stone over there, buddy of mine, he jumped in on this episode, and we appreciate him. Just opened up. He just put out his shingle, as they used to say back in the day. So you want to check him out. Northside Bar and Grill, thank you. And the Home Loan Ninja, Aaron Myra. If you'd like to be a sponsor, you can find out more details in the description. You can also email me, rockipediapodcast@gmail.com. We'll get you set up. If you have any product that's related to rock and roll, baby, rock and roll, if you're a music company or if you're a band or if you're a venue and you would like me to talk about it, mention your products. If you build guitars or throw concerts, do tattoos, sell weed. I am not picky. Legal in my state. No, really, if you have something you'd like me to push for you, even if you're a local business, regional business, national business, we've got room for you over here, and we're going to build our following. So if you don't do it now, maybe you can do it later. You know what I'm saying? I know you do. All right, thank you so much. We will be back next week with another edition of Rockipedia with David Miller.